Hello everyone. In this video, we are going to learn how we can add CSS to our HTML. Now, there are three ways we can add CSS to our HTML. We have the inline, the internal, and the external. So we are going to see how we can able to add our CSS into our HTML. Now, if you check very well, this is our element H1 with the open and have a text in there and the closing. Now we remember we talk about attributes in there. So this is a star that we've added it as an attribute into this element H1. So let's give it a perfect example in our editor in here. So I open my editor and I come here. So this is one example. So the first example is the inline. So I'm going to put in a comment in section in the inline CSS. So that's the first level. So the inline one, we add it in the open of the element tag. So if I open like H1 in here, and then I put in welcome to KSTU, computer science, computer science. So how do we add the inline? Now in the inline, as we learned from the attribute, you leave a space after the first open of the elements tag, that's the H1. Then you bring your star, and then we know that in attributes, it's followed by an equal sign. So the name comes in a double quotes. So the name, so for instance, I can just say color, and I bring my column, and then I put in my color in there. So let's say if I say color blue, and then I terminate it nicely in there. So this one we call it inline CSS. Why is it inline? We have put it in the same line of the elements H1. So that one we put it closer to the element. So this one what we have done is just a star with a color, and the color is this. So color means I want to change the font color of this text. So this font color will change to a text blue in over there. So we can view it and have a look at it if it's checked into the blue color in there. So you can see the font has changed to the blue with the help of the CSS inline in there. So what we did was just to change the font color of the element tag H1. So this one we call it inline CSS. And this inline is very difficult in maintaining. It's very difficult in maintaining, and also it will make your code more bulky when you do it more. It make it more bulky with a lot of things. So and sometimes to override a lot of things. So when you are using it, so you need to be very careful. So you can use only inline whereby you want to only apply it directly to one element in there. People still use inline, but whenever it just applied to one element, you can go in for inline CSS. Now let's also have a look at the other part of the CSS, the second part, which is the internal CSS. I'm copying this one over there. Now the internal CSS. So the internal CSS. So let me comment on all this one. So if it's a group or comment, I put it the end. Let's have comment on this one. Now the internal CSS. You come and open in your head section. Come and open your star tag. So this one is called the internal. The star tag in there. So the close and the open of star. And then we put in the CSS rule in between the closing and the open of the star tag. So this one, in case I have maybe paragraph, and I say this is Mercy in development class. All right. So this one, if I want to give it maybe a background color in there using the inline, what I will do is that I will just target in. So this one, I'll target this element, which is P. So when you target, we call this selector. So I target the P, and this one is a P. We bring our curly bracket in there because we want to put in a background in there. But this one is internal, so it's an open, it's within an open and close of the star. And I put in my code. So with the properties, I'll just do background color, whereby you want to put in a color. If you want a background have a lot of features. So I want to put in a background color. So I can give the background color of brown, and then it's where terminated. So when I save it, and then I check the output of it, you can also preview it, and then you see you have a background of that in there, being this is Mercy Web Development. So that's how the the internal work and then the inline also work. So we have seen the inline and the internal. Now internal are used whereby you are developing one application, one page, one page. So if you have designed one page, you can use the inline in doing that. But you have multiple pages and there's a different option there. Now in CSS, normally we will say this part, CSS contain other parts. So this part in CSS, we say this one is a property, and where after the column we say this one is a value. So let's also have a look at it now. The background color is a property, and where we have the color brown is a value. But in these cases, if you check, the P is called a selector. So we have been more specified. We are pointing towards the selector called P. So P is a selector, and the background color is the property, and this one is a value in there. So CSS have a property and a value in there, and then there's a selector. Now with the inline, we target directly the elements. We didn't select the L, so we target the directly with this. So this one we say the property and the value. So that's for the inline. Now when you are developing multiple pages, then you are advised to go in for the third one, which is the external CSS. So that one, you open a new file in there, and then you save it. So we save it in with any name with dots. The extension is .css. So my first one, I can save it .css, and then save it in there. So when I do .css, and then this one is an external. So in that same manner, you need to pick in a selector. So you need to pick in a selector. So this is a selector. I can also do. So let's go back to our first code in there and put in maybe heading 2 in, and then I say this is web app. So this is web app. So and this one I will select the H2, which is the selector in the external, like it will work a bit similar like the internal, but this one we separate it in a different page. So I'll just come and do H2, and I bring my curly brackets, then the property in there come. So the property, if I want to give it a color, I change the font color, just do color. I'll bring my column and I'll specify the color. So let's pick any of the color and I terminate it. And then so VS Code will generate the color for you as you type. I will learn more details about it. When I save this one and I go and check my working page, then I will see that my heading 2, which you are saved. So it didn't come. Why it didn't come? When we are doing the inline, when we are doing the external, you need to reference, you need to link in the page like the way we're doing the anchor tag linking. So we have a way of linking in there. So let's go back to our editor again and let's see in there. So we have our inline. We are going to edit the external one. So how do we link this page, the external page in there? So we go in our head, still in our head part, and then we reference in there. So how do we reference it in there? Instead of using the anchor tag, we are going to use what we call link. So we say link in there. So a link is to link external CSS in there. Now we do the add ref is to reference. So now we have different type of reference. It can be a JavaScript or CSS, but this one we're referencing a CSS. So CSS is a language called a star. It's called a star sheet. So we want to reference it that language called star. So we say star sheet. We say a star sheet in there. So we want to specify what kind of reference are we doing. Then we leave a space, and then the href, it works the same as the anchor tag href. So we point the location of where we have put the file. So we'll do our dots like the current location, and then we point our CSS so it come in there. And then after, don't forget to close the tag. It's very important in there. Then you save it. Now that we have done that, if you go back to our code in our browser, we activate it. You see that perfectly our H2 has changed to the color in there. So now that we have known how we can able to link in our CSS, we have three ways: the inline, the internal, and the external. The internal is hard to maintain, but it can be used in just one element. But however, in most developers, they go for the external. In any word developer, they go for external. Now, the internal is used for a single page, but not scalable. So we put it in the head aspects. It's just for a single page in there. Now, multiple pages or for all pages, we go for the external. And it's best for every developer. All developers are using the external CSS. All right, so that's the end of the video. In our next video, we are going to talk more about selectors. So we understand selectors, how we can able to apply selectors in our HTML structure to have a nice looking of our structure very well. So thank you. Like the video, you comment, and then God bless you. Stay blessed. Bye bye.